Hey there, this is Koi, and this is going to be a guide for Turtle Rock aimed at new players. So the idea here is to show you how you can get through these rooms more quickly and efficiently without having to learn any super difficult things. There's a lot to go through with Turtle Rock. I'm going to get through it as fast as I can. Let's get started. Not a lot to talk about here in the entrance. There's a hint tile over here. Don't skip that. In these pots, we have a full magic and a bomb. Typically, you're just going to open the full magic one because, you know, you probably just spend magic getting inside the dungeon. But if you really need it, there's a bomb right there. We cast Samaria and move on to the next room. There's a lot of different directions you can go in this room. We're going to go left first to the compass chest, assuming that we're full playing, of course. Save state right here. So when we go into this room, we're going to dash down on the left side. You don't want to dash down in the center because you're just going to block on the chest, right? High chest, block. No, don't do that. Dash down on the left side. It doesn't have to be all the way up against the wall, but that does make it a lot simpler. Pick up the chest. You can grab the corner like this, like I did, or you can go more in front of it. It doesn't really matter. So when we dash up, this is the important part. When we dash back up, you want to make sure that you're dashed up flush against the left side of the chest. If you dash off the chest like this, you're just going to go right into the spikes, even if you wouldn't have blocked. You'll go into the spikes. So when we dash back up, we're going to hug the left side of the chest, and I'll show you how that looks. Just like that. Now to leave this room, this laser eye does not fire at you while you're walking backwards. The idea here is to walk backwards with your sword held out and to get out of the room like that. But if you hold your sword down for too long, you're just going to spin. We want to avoid doing that spin. So the idea here is we're going to walk up. When we get close enough, we look down, hold the sword out, and then let go of B as we're leaving. And that avoids doing that spin. So all together now, dash down the left, grab the chest, dash up on the left, look down B, let go. Just like that. Up next, we're going to go over to torches. Baris will be in your way. Try very hard not to slash them. Resist the urge to slash Baris when they're in your way. You can sword beam them, that's fine, but if you slash them and they're electrified, they will just knock you off the platform and waste a bunch of time. So in this room, there's two things to remember. If you have the hook shot, you go up. If you don't have the hook shot, you go down. So we're going to start with out the hook shot, no hook shot. And for this, we just go down and take this really long path and spin circles on the platform while we wait for an eternity to pass us by. Switch to fire rod, whatever the hell you feel like. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Okay, starting with bottom right, top right, left side. And that is the best way to do that room without the hook shot. Now, of course, if you have the hook shot, you can make this a lot easier on yourself by going up instead. We still have to light the torches, so fire rod, and we do it backwards. Left side, top right, bottom right, switch to hook shot, and we just hook shot right there, and that gets us out of the room. Plenty of time to spare, right? Now, you might have seen this before, is you can actually hook shot that torch a little bit earlier. The timing for this is pretty tight. I'll see if I can do it, but we go bottom, or left side, top, bottom, and we just anticipated that last torch just a little bit so that we fire rodded it on like the top part of it, and then we quickly switch to hook shot, and we're going to hook shot to the left. You always want to hook shot to the left here. It's not any faster or slower as far as the hook shot moving, but it causes the screen to transition less, so do hook shot left. Just like that. And that's how you do that. So for roller room sucks. And like the best way to do this room, I'm not very good at, so I can't really show you that. But ideally you just do that and then like damage boost once or something. Like it's really hard to do that optimally with the hook shot. A better way to do it, especially in rando, which is a much more common situation, is to use an immunity item, which I forgot to give myself. So let's give myself Burna, and then just to do an item dash up the right side like this. And then you can grab magic here in this middle pot and item dash down. This works with the cape as well. One thing important to note though is that when you get to this spot right here, where we're past the spike roller, especially if you have the cape, you want to make sure to menu and switch to Samaria before this transition. And that is because if the cape runs out at the same time you're transitioning, it will break the game. So as soon as you pass that second spike roller, you want to menu and switch over like that. And I can show you that with the cape real quick. Where's Cape? Hello, Cape. If you don't have a lot of magic, what I like to do is walk up closer to the spike roller before I start dashing. And we just dash again, and as soon as we're past that spike roller, we just switch over back to Samaria. And that gets us out of that room nice and safely. Of course, the hook shot is the only one you're guaranteed to have. I don't have a good way to do this. This is very difficult for me. Usually involves like a dash and like really, really tight hooks. It's not easy. Ah! Here we go. I don't know what the optimum way to do that is, and whatever it is, it's harder than just using the cane or cape, so definitely use those if you can. Now, you might think, well, why not just go all the way to the back and then Death Warp or Mirror? Well, that's significantly slower. That's even if you're going through the room like this, Death Warping will be slower than this. I swear to you. This is a perfectly fine way to get to the room. It's not the end of the world if you take this just a little bit slower. That is faster than going back to the entrance of the dungeon. Now, of course, you might be low on hearts and want to Death Warp anyway, which is also perfectly fine. Moving on to our first Pokey, we're going to grab this heart and magic right here. You may not need the magic, but typically you need the magic, so just get in the practice of not forgetting this magic. We're going to use Samaria next. Now, that heart probably gave you Sword Beams back if you hadn't taken damage up to this point. And we don't really want to have Sword Beams, but I'm going to show you why we don't want to have Sword Beams first. So let's kill this guy and make sure we don't take damage. We took damage. God damn it. I was trying not to take damage. Alright, let me kill this guy real quick. Gonna make my life hard, aren't you? Okay, let's save state right here. Okay, so the reason you don't want to have sword beams is because we're gonna do a spin on this Pokey, and this is a very easy spin. But basically, we're just gonna hold the sword out and spin while standing at his side, left or right side. But if you had sword beams and you accidentally beamed him, the spin doesn't work as well anymore because his head's gonna be left alive. I'll show you that again. It doesn't matter where you spin him, how you spin him, it doesn't matter. If you sword beamed him, you will not be able to kill him in a single spin. So if you do have sword beams, make sure that you place your sword beam where it's not going to hit anything, and then walk up and spin him on the side. Now it's very important that you don't poke him as you're coming up to him either. Because first of all, that'll get rid of your sword charge, but even if it didn't, again, too much of him is left alive. Don't poke him. Just throw your beam out and spin him right on the side. Now this only works with Tempered or Butter Sword. If you don't have Tempered or Butter Sword, the next best way to kill him is just with a Fire Rod shot. Watch him, see if he goes left or right, and then just Fire Rod down that side. So he went left, so I Fire Rod on the left. After you Fire Rod him, it's pretty important that you get out of his way. Don't be directly below him, because sometimes his body part comes flying at you. I don't know what causes it to do that, because it doesn't always do that. Okay, I didn't switch to Fire Rod. Samaria is not a good weapon for this guy. I think it's based on like how far along him on the x-axis that you hit him. I'm not really sure. So we'll do the Fire Rod one more time. It's very, very simple. Just watch him left or right and go that same direction. He went left, we shoot left. And then we just grab the key and we can move on. So I'm gonna be real upfront with you. Chain chomps suck. But ideally, this is what happens in this room. And this happens maybe like 80% of the time for me, where everything goes perfectly well and there's no problems whatsoever. That's a very fast, easy way to get to the room. All we do here is we walk up to the left right here. He's in the way. Give me a better pattern so I can show you this. We walk up to right here, so that when we place the block in front of us, it's going to be lined up with that switch at the top. Then we immediately push this, and then we hit it again and grab the chest, and we... Sometimes the chain chomps are just going to say, you look nummy, and take a bite out of you. If that happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Ideally, you don't take damage, but you don't have nearly as much control over this room as you do everything else in the game. The worst patterns are when he goes directly in front of you, because it's much harder to dodge that. But walking all the way to the left wall allows me to dodge that shot. and get over here safely. Sometimes he's directly in front of you and he's just like that, and now I can't go to the left, right, when he did that. So alternatively, you can do this exact same strategy to the right. Of course, I can't show you unless they let me do that. But this is the exact same strategy. It's just on the right side instead of the left. I think the left is easier for me, just because that's what I normally do. But that's another way to do it. An alternative way to do it is with the double Samaria block. This is much tighter, but it's a very effective way of doing it. Of course I mess it up. The idea here is to place an extra block after you explode the first one, without exploding the second one. This is why I don't like doing this one, because I suck at it. And then you explode the block while you're on the switches, and then, you know, you have iframes. They can't touch you, right? And then you can very safely push off of it. Assuming they're not gonna bite me. There we go. I have a lot of trouble with that. If you accidentally explode your second block, you're almost definitely gonna get bitten because it just takes too long. But it's to explode the first one, place the second one. I exploded the second one too early. But still, we got through the room pretty safely. And the last way I want to show you is placing the block at the top. This is typically what you do when they're blocking both left and right, which I don't really feel like waiting for that to happen. So let's just do this. This is a, well, obviously, this is another way to do this room. The idea here is to place the block in the middle where it's lined up with the two torches, or with the two switches, but in such a way that it's closer to one side than the other. So here we put it closer to the left side. So we explode it once, and then we stand on the switch, and we have our iframes, and then we can just move on. All right, let's show it one more time with the good strat, the ideal strat, where the chain chomp doesn't immediately get in my way. Oh, he bit me! Give me one, just one. That's all I'm asking. Chain chomps. Chain chomps are mean, and they will bite you. And they will not care. Alright, let's move on. This part's going to take care of several rooms at once. So starting off with, we want to make sure we're holding right as we leave that staircase. If you aren't holding right, like if you try to move down first, the anti-fairy will get you. So if you're holding right, you actually stair lag cancel and get out of this just a little bit faster. And that allows you to avoid that anti-fairy. Okay, that aside, next thing we're going to do is come over here, and assuming we have boots, which, you know, if you don't have boots, but walking is pretty self-explanatory, you want to dash down on the right side right here, and that allows you to skip that anti-fairy. The Pokey can still cause problems, but usually he's not that big of a threat. We just dash down on the right, always skips the anti-fairy, and we move on to this next part. And of course, anti-fairies can be powdered for fairies at any point, but there's an even better spot coming up. There's 5 arrows right here if you need them. Typically, if you don't have silvers and you're about to go into GT, you might think about grabbing those. And here we're going to go down the right side, the closer one. Always do the closer one first. Even in go mode, you always grab this closer one first. Okay, and let's save state right here. So with the boots here, we can just dash, dash, swipe, hold the sword out, and do a spin just like on that first Pokey. Grab our key, and move on. That seems very, very simple, right? The Pokey himself has lots of different RNGs. He can be in many different places in this room, and you just have to kind of react to where he's going to be. So here he's a lot lower than he was before. But same as before, we hold the sword out, and we just spin him from the side. And just like the first Pokey, don't sword beam him, don't poke him, and do not worry about the bunny beam. If the bunny beam hits you, it's okay. What are they gonna do? Look how slow these stealth moves are. I'm a freaking bunny and they can't catch me. Now, if you didn't have tempered or butter, the fire rod is your go-to weapon right here. And same as before, we dash, dash, swipe, and we're gonna fire rod just a little bit ahead of his path. So if he was moving up there, so I fire rod above him. If he's moving down, we fire rod below him. If he's moving right, we fire rod to his right, you know, etc., etc. Other thing to note for this room is the laser eye. The laser eye right here, he can see you as you're trying to walk through the doorway. So we have to be walking that way because we need to unlock the door, right? So what you want to do here is to diagonal from the top, like that. And that'll get you through the doorway safely with the key. And the other way, let's kill him one more time. The other way, so if you're coming up from the bottom, you don't want to diagonal into the top right here. Here you want to go up and then right. And line up with the doorway that way. And that's how you avoid that laser eye. And nothing really to talk about here. We're just going to grab our big key, and then we'll work on our exit strategy. If you need magic, if you really, really, really need magic, you can go that way, but this way is faster. Save state right here. Okay, these are very simple dashes, but they're not that hard to mess up. See, we messed up. The idea here is we dash over, and then we dash up the right side, and then we're going to dash just a little bit below the doorway. See, we were too low down, so we bonked. If we're too high, we get hit by anti-fairies. If you see that you're going to bonk or get hit by anti-fairies, just cancel your dash and move like that. Let's see if we can get one good dash. Just like that. Another thing to note, just one quick small thing. If you are going to be skipping the big chest, you want to hit the switch on your way out. If you're not skipping the big chest, that does not matter. It's not important to hit that switch. But again, real simple dashes. And of course, if you don't have boots, you can just walk. And when you get to the anti-fairies, just walk along the top, and that'll skip the anti-fairies as well. Moving on to double pokies. Obviously, the best way to kill pokies, as you've learned so far, is to spin them with the tempered or butter swords. We'll show that first. In this room, there are 2 pokies and a Medusa statue. We'll save state right here. It's very important, pull your sword out before entering this room. If you do it after entering the room, it's very difficult to avoid sword beaming them, very difficult to get your sword out fast enough, so you want to have your sword out already as you enter the room. But here we're going to kill them just the same as before. We're just going to spin them from the side. Sometimes you get bad RNG like we got there, and they both moved all the way down. Sometimes you get really good RNG. Sometimes you get really good RNG and they both moved at the top, which, you know, we'll probably never see. But the idea is the same as before. We're going to spin them in the direction that they're moving. So that second one there, he was moving up, so I spun him from the top. And there's a lot of RNG with their positioning. You just have to learn. This one's going to take a lot of practice to get down really, really well with the spins. Of course, if you don't have if you don't have the tempered sword, or if this is more difficult for you, the fire rod is definitely a fine way to do this room. It's much, much easier than doing the spins, but of course it costs, you know, magic. It's also slower. If you are going to spend a significant amount of magic in this room, you might think about grabbing this pot right here, which does have a small magic in it. Otherwise, this room is not too troublesome. Now remember, if we're skipping the big chest, you go over to the right. Uh-oh, that's bad. Ah! Wait. Don't do this to me. There we go. You go over to the right to skip the big chest. Otherwise, we're going down to leave. So we'll do it one more time. We're not going to be skipping the big chest for this guy. I got the god pattern! I'm so happy. Moving on to Mimic Cave, we're going to switch to bombs right here to bomb our way out. We're going to put down the bomb and pick it up as soon as we can. And then we're going to walk all the way down to these pots before we throw it. And that guarantees that it's going to hit the wall. If you throw it down from just the wrong position, so say if I had thrown it from like right here, there's a chance, depending on your positioning, that it's actually not going to hit the wall. Walking all the way down to the pots first will guarantee that won't happen to you. But again, we switch to bombs. Put it down to pick it up. Throw it from there, and then we can grab this heart right here and dash on out. Very, very simple room. Not a whole lot to talk about there. Alright, so we're going to do Mimic Cave. It's not really a part of Turtle Rock, but it's basically a part of Turtle Rock, right? Mimic Cave is not too challenging, but if you are new to the game, you may not realize that you can move the mimics by just grabbing this rail like this, see? So you might have seen somebody do this and try it, and it like doesn't work for you. Like, why isn't it working, right? And the reason for that is you have to grab the rail while you're not moving. So when we walk in the room, we have to stop and then grab. You can't grab it while you're holding right. We just stop grab, and that lets us move the mimics. Let's switch over to hammer, and we come up here, we grab this one, we move them into us, and we can hammer that first guy, hammer that second guy. Sometimes he'll escape like that if your movement wasn't perfect. It's not a super big deal. If you have tempered sword or butter sword, you can one-shot them with a swipe, but sword beams make that a little more challenging. Good thing we have the hammer already equipped though. So let's do it without messing up. There we go. And we just inch until they're more stacked, and we just stab them like that. Or hammer them, I guess, not stab them. It's not very sharp, the hammer, I guess. And that's how you do Mimic Cave. Moving on, we're going to do several rooms in this next section because most of them are not very difficult. We switch to Samaria right away. We're going to use Samaria later, so we're going to Samaria across, but you can use the hookshot to hookshot across the chest as well. In this next room, there's not a whole lot here. It's just try not to get hit. Sometimes you can sneak by them, but walking all the way around like that is perfectly fine. Not going to delve too much into that. Those are pretty easy. Okay, so for this room, the room after this is the Crystal Roller Room, which is the section that the guide is about. And to do that room properly, like the quick way with dashing and all that, you have to dash optimally in this room. So I can't do it like now. It's not gonna work now. Because the roller here, he's moving while you're in the previous room. You cannot have that happen if you want to do it the quick way. So we have to dash and then dash. And that's the only way we can do it. But to do this, we're gonna stop right here and we're gonna get our iframes, grab the chest, and then dash turn and Samaria once more to get it out real quick. Very, very, very tight, but it's not that bad. So we'll show it again. It's very difficult for me to show you exactly because every time I pause, I lose a few frames and that we're gonna lose time. So anyway, I stood up on the top half of these orange blocks and we hit our first Samaria block to give ourselves iframes from these. And then we're gonna walk over very carefully, grab the chest, and from here, we're going to walk up to the block that's right in front of me, and we're going to dash turn starting by looking to the left. I'm sorry, start by looking to the right, and then dash turn to the left to bonk over the spike. And then quickly look up and Samaria once more to get the switch. We'll show that one more time, and then I'll show you how to do it the slower, safer way. Stand on the top half of the blocks, get iframes, grab the chest, and then dash turn, bonk, Samaria again, and sneak on by. That's the fast way to do it. There's an even faster way that's even more difficult, but it doesn't save much more time than this one does. So I'm not going to bother with that. But the slow way, and this is the way you do it if you didn't have boots, of course. And of course you can bomb this wall as well if you didn't have boots. But the slow way involves just waiting for the cycle of the crystal roller. We wait for him to be on the right side, and then we just follow him out. That loses very little time over the fast strat, but the fast strat does look really cool. So if you can do it, I'd do it. Look how cool this looks. Look how amazing. Are you not impressed by my cool bonking? But this is really tight, especially if you're not that comfortable with dash turns. But that's the fun way to do it. Next up we have the Samaria Maze. The Samaria Maze is not very difficult, but it does help a lot to have this memorized. But we go right and then quickly hold down. And then we hold right to get to this pot, get back on here. And we can just hold right until this thing hits us. And then we can just hold down. And then we can just hold left. And once we pass that corner right there, we can hold down to leave the room. It's very, very, very simple, very, very, very fast. But you do have to memorize it, just for the record. If you do it optimally, like putting that block down as fast as possible, you always skip damage on that first guy and the second guy, and you always take damage from the third guy, and then always take damage from the second guy right here. If you need them, there's a full magic and 2 hearts right here. Ideally, you don't do that, though, because you don't really want to have sword beams. Like, for, like, 3 rooms from now, you don't really want to have sword beams. And not full healing yourself right there can be very beneficial, but it's not that big a deal if you definitely need the hearts. If you're not optimal on placing on this block, it's still going to be okay. You might take extra damage. Say we weren't optimal this time, so now we're going to get hit by this guy. Ow. And we'll get hit by this guy, and we'll get hit by the third guy, I think. Maybe we skip the third guy. No, we'll skip the third guy. Now, if you're, like, really, really low on hearts, and it's absolutely vital that you don't take any damage, you can get through these pretty simple with the hook shot as well. So I'll show you on the second guy that would normally hit us. We can just switch to the hook shot, and right when he's about to hit us, just hook shot right through him. He can't do nothing about it. And now because we hook shot though, the timing's off, and we would get hit by that one, so we have to hook shot again. So avoiding one means you have to avoid multiple, so it's not just the time it takes to hook shot once, it's more than once. So try to avoid doing that if time is absolutely vital, but sometimes hearts are a lot more vital than time, right? So we'll go through it one more time, doing it the intended way. Right quickly down, we can just hold down this whole time, then right over to the pot, hit the switch, back on, we just hold right until we take damage, then we can hold down until we turn that corner, then we can hold left until we turn that one right there, and we can just hold down to leave. Very, very simple. Coming up on Laser Bridge, I do have a guide specifically for Laser Bridge because it's such a common question. So definitely check that out if this is something you need to learn. But I'll show you all the different ways you can do it. Give me some immunity items so I can show you. So starting with, of course, you can use Burnout or the Cape to get through these, like so. And then we can just tap up to leave. And we'll try it with the Cape now. Very, very simple to do that, right? And then there are walk skips. We'll need to switch over to Samaria to avoid this guy. Hey, get off there. And dash skips. But again, I have a guide specifically for this room, so I'm not going to go too in-depth in it right here just to save some time. Do check out that guide if Laser Bridge is a point of contention for you, please. In this room right here, you can do a key dash into that doorway by lining up on the edge of the pit right here and then doing a dash turn. Or, if you'd like to not accidentally fall off 50% of the time, you can walk all the way to the rail, walk up and do a key dash. This loses you, like walking to the rail versus walking up the pit, loses you as much time as it takes to walk from here to here, and then to dash from here to here. That's it. That's all it loses. However much time that is, like, I don't know, like 5 frames or something. I have no idea. It's very, very little. So if you have trouble walking up along the pit, walking to the rail is a much simpler way to do this dash turn, or to do this key dash. In this room, we're going to do a Samaria dash strat by hitting the switch, killing the mini Helmosaur so he won't block our shot, place that in the middle of all the blues, and then item dash from the bottom of the switch. So we'll show that a little slower, and of course RNG is going to screw me because we're going to stand around a little bit more. But it's going to be okay. We hit the switch, we kill the mini Helma, place this in the middle of all these blue switches that are down right now. It doesn't have to be exactly in the middle, like mine's a little low, but it's going to be okay. We walk up to this switch, and then we're going to turn left and item dash. And then we can just dash up. Very, very simple. We'll show that one more time. We hit the switch, kill the Helma, place it in the middle, item dash left, dash up. Very, very fast way to do that room. Very, very cool looking. Impress all your friends. Now, you might have trouble with item dashes. Some people do have trouble with item dashes. Item dashing is not the easiest thing to do in the world. But you can do this same trick without boots. Hit the switch, kill the Helma, place this in the middle, and now we're going to walk left and just hold left the whole time, and we're going to hit Y when we reach these blue pegs. So we place the block, we move up, and now. Exactly the same thing, except now we have to walk past the Pokey. But that's a very, very easy way to do that room. Anybody can do that. It's very simple. We'll show that one more time as well. hit the switch, kill the Helmosaur. I said, place it, walk, hit, and continue walking. And got him. Another way you can do it with outboots, and this is a perfectly fine way to do this as well, although I don't think it's as cool. But you can skip killing the mini Helmosaur with this one. We come up here, and when we're past it on this side, we hit it, place a block, and then hit that block right here. And that gets you through the room as well. I think that's a little tiny bit slower, but it's really easy as well. Lastly, if you didn't have any magic because you spent it all on Laser Bridge, you can still get through this room even if you didn't have like sword beams or something by using the boomerang or fire rod. Well, I guess you wouldn't have magic. Or pots. Pots are a perfectly acceptable way to get through this room. Not that bad. It's not that bad at all. Finally, we're at the end of the Trinexx fight. I'm going to show you the butter fight, the tempered fight, and the hammer fight. I'm not going to show you backdoor strats, which is really only worth it with the butter sword, and even then it doesn't save very much time, and it's also a little harder to execute. But I'll show you everything else. So starting with, there is a heart in this spot and a full magic in this spot. If you cast that block right there to put the platform down before your magic finishes filling up, you'll still have full magic and be able to do 8 shots with the fire rod and ice rod. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. See? But if I waited for it to fill up and then I placed it, now we only have 7 shots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nah. See? So if you didn't have very much magic like I don't right now, you can very safely just come over here and pick it up and then place the block. If you were near full magic, you might want to place the block first and then pick up the full magic, but otherwise it's basically the same. So we're going to do the butter sword fight first. You can see I have the butter sword. Let's save state right outside the doorway. Okay, so you always want to start with the left head with the fire red using your ice rod, and the reason for this is because he activates first. With butter sword, you do 2 swipes, then switch. And then over here, 1, 2, 3. Very, very simple, right? So I'll show that one more time. And it's very important that you switch to the fire rod before your 3rd swipe over here. 1, 2, 3. And the reason for that is because you can't open the menu while a head is dying. And you need to switch to that fire rod. Okay, so with the tempered sword, let's switch our sword down. Same as before, we're going to start on the left head, except it's going to be 2 cycles. So here we go. Oh, well, you can't miss, though. You're not supposed to miss. 1, 2, 3, shoot, and then switch. And then 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1. Sometimes it takes another hit. Usually it doesn't, but sometimes it does take another hit, so be prepared for that if he doesn't die from that last one. And then with the hammer, I don't have to switch my sword for this. Actually, yeah, I do. Because we're going to do some Master Sword swipes. With the hammer, this is very, very tight, but it's very doable as well. But we're going to ice and then quickly switch, and now we need to walk up to him just close enough to hammer him without walking into him. And we're going to do 3 hammers here. I wasn't close enough. Let's try again. It's hard. It is hard. Okay. Well, I look really bad. You're not going to believe anything I say, right? 1, 2, 3, and then switch. And then again, we're going to switch between the 1st and 2nd hit of this cycle. Right there. And over here, I can't switch yet, but we have the Master Sword, so I can just swipe him a couple times. And it's very difficult to get 3 over here. Sometimes you can't even get 2. And he put down the early ice, which makes it much harder. There we go. Okay, we'll show that one more time. Hopefully I won't mess up again. Hammer 1, 2, 3, switch, shoot. Hammer 1. Oh, I missed. There we go. So that's not ideal, but with Hammer Trinexx, the idea here is to get to the last phase without having died, which we succeeded at. Now here you can hit the head at the beginning, but then after he crosses that corner, it's his body that becomes vulnerable. Try not to upswing if you're not comfortable with it, but upswings can make this part go a lot faster. But basically the second phase of the fight is free. The last thing I can show you is the double spin. The double spin for the second phase. So let's get through this phase one more time with the Tempered Sword. Alright, so here we're going to stand just a little bit below him and a little bit to the left. And as soon as we can see him start moving, we let go of B, and that gets a double spin, and then just one more swipe down will finish the fight. And that is Trinexx. That's Trinexx, and that's all of Turtle Rock. We did it, you guys. We did it. I really hope that you learned something, and if you didn't, let me know what was confusing or what you wanted to see that I didn't show you, and I will totally make a new guide or talk to you directly and help you with that. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.